It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Kicking things off, our top story, as it's been throughout the week, has been basketball. And the Orchard Lake St. Mary's boys basketball team is on fire, making another deep playoff run here in 2025 following their Division I state championship just last year. On Tuesday, the Eaglets were one win away from going dancing in East Lansing, competing in the state quarterfinals. We sent reporter Kevin McIntosh for your local coverage.
The road to another state title continues tonight for Orchard Lake St. Mary's as the Eaglets take on Macomb L'Anse Creuse North in the quarterfinals here at Callahan Hall. With a 10-game win streak, St. Mary's is proving why they're the defending Division I state champions. But L'Anse Creuse North comes in hot as well, winning their last 7 straight games. Tonight, it's all about win or go home.
The arena started to fill in as the Eaglets and the Crusaders prepared to battle and leave it all on the court to see who advances to the state semifinals in East Lansing. At tip-off, L'Anse Creuse obtained possession, but it was Orchard Lake St. Mary's senior guard Isaiah Hines who scored the first bucket of the game. As the game continued, the score remained close due to some missed shots and turnovers from both teams. Through the first quarter, the Eaglets got off to a slow start, but maintained a 1-point lead, 9-8. By the second quarter, Orchard Lake's offense began to take off as they exploded for 20 points, with 8 different players scoring at least 2 points each. L'Anse Creuse's offense started to lose grip against St. Mary's defense as they held them to only 8 points. Contributing to the Eaglets' 29-16 lead in the first half were top scorers Isaiah Hines and Mateen Cleaves with 6 points each. After warming up from halftime, both teams chose to start the third quarter with the same starting lineup. A heavy defensive presence from St. Mary's was once again felt by the Crusaders, resulting in rebounds and turnovers. While each team seemed to pick up momentum and find their rhythm, it was key shots from junior wingman Luke Creighton, senior forward Jaden Savory, and 2025 Mr. Basketball Trey McKinney that separated the teams. Orchard Lake scored 26 points in the third quarter and led Macomb L'Anse Creuse North 55-27 to start the final quarter. In the fourth quarter, it was a changing of the guards from the Eaglets, but the dominance remained the same. The Crusaders found 15 more points in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough against the Eaglets' defense. Orchard Lake St. Mary's Prep beat Macomb L'Anse Creuse North 73-42. The Eaglets look to become the first back-to-back Division I state champions since the 2017-2018 Class A Clarkston Wolves as they advance to the state semifinals at the Breslin Center against the East Lansing Trojans on Friday, March 14th.
Man, that looked like a very exciting game. You cannot stop Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and the star-studded St. Mary's team has been led by 5-star McDonald's All-American Trey McKinney, who this week was named Mr. Basketball for the entire state of Michigan. Kevin McIntosh spoke to him after last night's game about making yet another trip to the Breslin Center in pursuit of a state championship.
Civic Center TV, I'm Kevin McIntosh here live at U of D Callahan Hall. I'm here with Orchard Lake St. Mary's decorated high school star, Trey McKinney. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing great, man. Great, fantastic game. Another win right here at Callahan Hall, headed to Breslin. How does it feel?
I'm good. 3 years at the president, that's not normal, so I'm just happy to be a part of this team.
Now I want to get a little bit into your background very briefly. Growing up, I know Flint was part of your childhood growing up as well. Can you just talk about how the culture of Flint influenced your basketball journey?
Flint is a basketball city. I grew up watching a lot of guys that came out of Flint. So, it's really important to me being able to reach out to those guys and have relationships with them. So I'm just happy to be from Flint.
Winning the state championship is on a lot of basketball players' bucket list, but you won one last season, waiting to win another one this season. What made that 2024 championship team so special?
Just a camaraderie with the team, and we were all close knit, and we didn't care who was having an on night, and we were just happy that the next man was succeeding every night. So that team was a very special team.
You recently signed your letter of intent to be with Michigan as well. Just talk about what ultimately led to the decision to play with Michigan.
Just the opportunity, and Michigan being my dream school, and having a very, very good relationship with the coaches.
You also recently broke the all-time scoring record for St. Mary's as well. What does that record mean to you?
A lot. Especially a lot of good guys coming out of Orchard Lake, and me just being one of them, and being the face of Orchard Lake has been a blessing.
Do you have any goals that you plan on setting or achieving as your freshman year at Michigan?
I really haven't thought that far yet, but I'm just ready to compete in the Big Ten, one of the best conferences in college basketball. So I'm just ready to compete, and I'm excited for the year.
You were recently named 2025 Mr. Basketball. Can you just talk about why this recognition is special for you?
Mr. Basketball is it's a storied award, so I'm just happy to be a part of a very elite group of guys, and there's been a lot of guys that went on to do great things after that, so I'm just happy to be put in position to be able to do something like them.
Any aspiring basketball players from Flint or Orchard Lake right now watching you, looking up to you, what message do you have to them?
Just thank you for supporting me. Flint has welcomed me with open arms and Orchard Lake, so I'm just happy to, have lived in both cities, and just happy to keep pushing Orchard Lake, and being from Flint. I don't take that lightly, because there have been a lot of guys that's come out of there, so I'm just happy to be able to do this.
Well said. Once again, right here from U of D, Callahan Hall, watching Orchard Lake St. Mary's get another win, headed to the Breslin to chase that state championship. From U of D Mercy, right next to Trey McKinney, I'm Kevin McIntosh, Civic Center TV.
Appreciate Kevin McIntosh for going out and getting that story. Trey McKinney, a star in the making. Can't wait to see what he's able to do at the college level, and maybe someday the NBA. But the Eaglets tip off their state semifinal game Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. We will keep you updated here on the Splash Live and across all our social media as St. Mary's looks to win back-to-back championships. Can't wait to see what they're able to do. The West Bloomfield Police Foundation provides help and resources for our local officers as well as their families. And residents from all across Greater West Bloomfield can support the foundation by attending some of their community events. I recently had the chance to attend their annual Glow Bowl bowling event at Wonderland Lanes to hear just what the Police Foundation does for our community.
Well, it's really exciting because this is the 18th year, and this event brings people together to support the West Bloomfield Police Foundation. What people don't understand, I think, is that the West Bloomfield Police Foundation does support police and fire families in the community, but they also support the entire community as well as other communities, particularly in Oakland County. I was the president of the Police Foundation 18 years ago when we started this event, and Norelle Heinold helped me do that, and today she is still the mastermind behind this event. So I have seen it grow, and we just continue to have new supporters join every year, and we just continue to grow the support of what this foundation does. And this is a very important event in all of those endeavors.
What have been some of the things that you've seen from this event as it's grown over the last 18 years?
It's the donations and more of the community. The sponsors are bigger and better each year. As you can tell by the gifts, I mean, people are willing to buy raffle tickets because it's not your nickel and dime event. It might be a little costly, but it all goes for a good event, and it supports a great community. By winning these prizes, people are winning on the other end that you're buying the raffle tickets for. So it really is a win-win for the community and the bowlers.
Just fun every time. You just are not disappointed ever. They do a great job. The food after you bowl is amazing. You know that the money's going where it needs to go. We trust them. They put it where it needs to go if anybody needs help with it. So it's just an amazing event.
It's a great feeling, just seeing everybody get together. A lot of them don't know why they're here. They just know that they're out here to support the men and women of the police department. It's great. I've been doing this for about 6-7 years now, helping out this foundation. It's great.
Narelle, who runs the whole event, she came to me many years ago, and they were looking for a venue, and it just seemed like it was a great fit from the moment it started. She's a wonderful partner. All the individuals that come to this event are obviously community-based people within the police force, and so it's just been a great event every single year. Everybody looks forward to it. It's a built-in thing here at Wonderland. We know it's going to happen every year, and it's going to be fantastic. The people in this community care. They come out, they support, and it's great that we can have fun while still doing something so positive.
You never want to have to go 1 foot backwards. You always want to go forward. Help more, bigger, better, best.
Bigger, better, best. Couldn't have said it better myself. Big thank you to the Police Foundation for allowing me to stop by and attend that event. And if you want to stay up to date with what the foundation is doing, you can head to wbpolicefoundation.org to stay up to date with everything they're doing for the community. Every day in Greater West Bloomfield, work is being done to make this city even greater. That can be on the smaller scale of things or on the larger scale. And every day the township recognizes these incredible people and everything that they do. Here to tell us more is West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder. Debbie, happy to have you with us today.
Happy to be here, Jake. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Interested in getting into this because just recently at your recent town hall meeting, you honored some people here in the community. And I want to talk about how does it feel to be honoring the things that they do in everything that people do to help this community be what it is?
I think we're a very large community that sometimes it takes that little bit of extra effort to feel like a small community. And those moments where you get to honor people doing great things and keeping your community connected become, extra special. And I think that's what we witness when we bring people in and recognize them for their contributions to making our large community feel small. And we are fortunate that in West Bloomfield Township, we have so many talented and engaged residents that we can highlight. Sometimes we don't always hear about them. So I would encourage people who may know of somebody to contact us, somebody that deserves recognition. I know we have some of our recognition events. We have the, Youth Assistance Awards for recognition, and where we recognize youth in our community, and we have our Michigan Week Awards. But sometimes it's nice when they get, they come to the board, and the board recognizes their contributions in the community, and that's what we did get to do the other night. And I just encourage people to be our eyes and ears on the street and let us know if they know of somebody that would be, somebody good to recognize at this level.
That's right, and it's amazing that you're doing things like this because it's making everybody feel important, and it makes us aware of people who are making such a difference here in West Bloomfield that otherwise we might not be aware of. One of those people is Helen Campbell, who's been doing a lot of work in cleaning up the community. Could you tell us a little about her?
Yep, so Helen Campbell, we watched her for a long time, and she was out there every day, almost, it seems like every day, just going for her walk and carrying a grabber with her and picking up litter and trash as she walked on her walking path. And it kind of became a mission where she didn't like seeing litter, and she spent her time in the town hall area and the neighborhood surrounding to just walk and pick up litter. And as I mentioned at the meeting, I think what was so important in that lesson is here's one person who saw a problem and said, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to do what I can. I'm not going to wait to get a team. I'm not going to wait to get organized. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to make a difference. And we saw her all the time and said, we need to catch her. And at one of our department head meetings, I announced, if anyone sees her, please, if you can get contact information. And sure enough, our HR director the next day saw her, stopped, and he probably thought he was crazy stopping to talk to her at first. But he got contact information, and then coincidentally, the next day she was on campus as I was leaving, and we connected with her. She does, she does not do it for recognition. We had to push her to accept the recognition that we felt was so deserving. She does not do it for any kind of recognition, but she does it to help her community, and I applaud her. But I think it's a wonderful example for people. Sometimes you just have to roll up your sleeves and get involved. Don't wait for the invitation. Don't wait, for a group to organize. If you can make a difference on something positive, there's a lesson to do it. And it was as simple as incorporating those kind of behaviors and that grabber tool into her walk.
That's absolutely right. And it's great that it's people like Helen who do such what some people might think is not a huge deal for the community, but it is a huge deal. And she's doing that every day or every time that she can. And as I was saying at the top of the interview, it's not just people on the smaller scale of things, it's organizations and people on the larger scale of things. As you also honored the Tuskegee Airmen of the Macon Thomas chapter. Talk about that and their approval of proclamation.
So the Tuskegee Airmen is the Macon Thomas chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, and they're a remarkable group of people. I actually joined the group about 8 or 9 years ago, and anybody can join the organization. There actually are not many of our original Tuskegee Airmen left, and this is a group that gets together to obviously commemorate history, but also I think one of the things people don't realize is how much they do to help youth in our community and beyond. They have opportunities to engage the youth that they are involved with. In the one end, they're just passively a role model. They're amazing role models for our youth, but they have all sorts of specialized science technology programming to help guide youth into that STEM, that STEM career future. So they're, again, somebody who said, I'm going to make a difference, and they have done it at every level. They've done it making a difference in the lives of adults in our community, connecting different communities together, because they are heavily in West Bloomfield, but their outreach is beyond West Bloomfield. So between bringing people together, communities together, and engaging youth, they just do a lot. It's a goal of theirs to make sure that they're there to guide that next generation. They understand the importance of history and what they've carried on from history in terms of the Tuskegee Airmen and keeping that story and history alive. And they understand the importance of making sure the next generation does. So it's an unbelievably committed group of individuals with a very clear and important mission, and I'm proud that they are heavily centered here in West Bloomfield and that they value our community, and it's important sometimes to make sure they know that our community values them.
And I'm happy that they're getting the recognition that they absolutely deserve. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, we have West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder joining us right now to talk about the recent recognitions here in West Bloomfield of people supporting our community, whether that be people like Helen Campbell or the Tuskegee Airmen of the Macon Thomas chapter. And what can people do? And you talked about this just a little bit ago. What can people do if they know of someone or an organization that's doing a lot of work for the community and they want them to be honored in a way like this?
Okay, probably the best thing to do is to call my office. And I have a joke that it all works best when it goes through Gloria, and Gloria is the deputy clerk, and she is the pinnacle of organization. So I would recommend that they contact the clerk's office at 248-451-4848. and ask for Gloria, or they can ask for me if I'm available, and we'll get them on the agenda. And if you need us to contact the person, if it's somebody you see, we will work to contact the person. We enjoy it. It's a really, the meetings are obvious. The board meeting is a business meeting of the board. And, as much as it's exciting, sometimes it's just not. So I think that these recognitions add a very personal, layer to it, and something, again, that brings that concept of community to a very large, we're the 23rd largest municipality in the state of Michigan, and the 6th largest township in the state of Michigan, and the 2nd largest in the state of township in Oakland County. So we're really quite big, and this is a chance to make our community feel like a small community where people are involved and engaged.
Well, everything that the township is doing is certainly helping to bring this community together. One more quick question, Debbie, before we let you go, on a little bit of a different angle. Also, with this recent township meeting, you displayed some information about this year's upcoming Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show that's going to be coming in July. Could you disclose some of that information?
Yep. So we have, I wish I had the dates right here. It's late July. I'm not looking at the exact dates, but I always know spring's on its way when we have the approvals for the Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show, and it is coming up again this year. And Patty Narozny, who is the director of, the producer for How It Works, which puts on the Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show, really has worked to expand the show to make sure that there are different artists, different mediums represented, but also different price points. Because I know at one point people thought that everything was too costly if they weren't a fine art collector. But she has worked very hard to make sure there's all different price points involved, and that there's different mediums and different type things. I think I just saw a picture you showed where there were walking sticks, and you'll have jewelry, and you have plates and cutting boards, and then there's the fine art. So she's done a great job making sure that she's expanded what it brings to the community. But I do think it is a showcase moment for West Bloomfield Township. People do come from all over to our fine art show. And, Patty has a bunch of art shows she produces down in Florida too, and she works hard at promoting and marketing our show down there as well. From Patty, what I've learned a lot about the art shows, and going with her to different ones to just see the differences. Some art shows have where or art fairs, people can buy trinkets or buy something and sell it. Everything Patty allows in her show has to be handmade and produced by the artist. So I think that makes it even more special, because you're seeing people's handiwork, not just something that they could have bought. And I also would like to mention, I'm involved every year with helping her with the youth art show, and they have a judged program for kids in the community, and the kids produce art, and the art's on display for the entire show, and then they announce winners on, I think it's 3:00 typically on Sunday. And after they announce the winners, the kids are so excited when they win, and it's just even to see their work on display, they get excited. And then some of them will sell their work after, because Patty tells them it's a time to learn that you can actually turn your art into a business. So you will see some of these kids, selling their art after. And as a former teacher, I just think anytime that an organization works to engage and act as a role model for youth in the community, it's so important to me, and I just know that it's important to the kids. And sometimes those little acts of recognition, make a difference in a kid's life. Even things we may not realize are big to us or are big to them. So I just see Patty doing so much to help our youth and to give to our community, that I do get involved every year in the art show, just volunteering, and I'm happy and proud to do it, because I just think, again, Patty and her show do so much for this community.
That's absolutely right. I had such a blast attending the art show last year. Can't wait for it this year, which will be taking place on July 26th and 27th of 2025. Debbie, thank you so much for stopping by here on The Splash today.
Thanks, Jake, and I'm glad you had those days. I apologize I didn't.
No worries. Got to keep everybody informed. Can't wait to see what's to come here in the city of West Bloomfield as we thank Debbie for honoring all these great people who help make this city as special as it is, including the Tuskegee Airmen, who we will be speaking with one of them a little later on. But we're going to be taking a quick break right now and jump into some more stories right after this. Live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live. Bringing you stories and memories from Sylvan Lake, Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent, West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. March is Reading Month, and there are many book clubs that advocate for reading right here in Greater West Bloomfield. One of those is the Friends of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, who have contributed over $750,000 to support programs, services, and enhancements right here in West Bloomfield. And here to tell us more, we have a member of the board of the Friends of the Library, of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, Diane Henderson, joining us right now on The Splash. Diane, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. Good to be here.
Good to see you too, and glad that you're here. And March is Reading Month, as I just said. How does the Friends organization support and promote literary initiatives during this time?
I think that the Friends does kind of what they do all year round. We make donations to the library. We do the monthly book talk, which happens every one Thursday evening and one Friday morning of every month, where volunteers, members of the Friends, lead conversations about books. That's my responsibility with the board, is to chair the book talks. And I got involved in the Friends in the first place by doing book talks. They make lots of donations for children's programs, the Friends, and they of course run the Friends Shop. So the Friends' entire reason for being is to support and encourage reading for people of all ages.
That's right, and you guys are doing a lot of amazing things to help unify the community on this love of reading. And many people begin reading books at a young age, but not everyone gains an interest in reading books as an adult. Where does your interest in books and reading stem from?
For me, from the time I was a very young child, I was kind of a troublemaker. And when I got bored in school, I would make trouble. And the teacher complained to my mother. I believe this was the story is that this was in the second grade. And my mother said, well, there's an easy solution. The teacher said, what? Let her read a book. Because I was already at the age of, so what is that, 7, an avid reader, and have spent my entire life that way. I cannot remember a life without books, and I can't imagine a life without books and reading. I remain an avid reader. At this point in time, I average somewhere between 6 and 8 books a month. So I think that makes me pretty much an avid reader. I think during the pandemic is when I hit my record, when in 1 year I read 109 books.
Oh, wow.
Because I do keep a book journal.
Well, I would imagine a lot of people would hit their stride during the pandemic months, but 109 books, that is crazy. And with the growing demand and supply of audiobooks, ebooks, and digital information, I want to ask you, what is the value of a true physical copy of a book?
Well, I will confess to begin with that I am an ebook reader. And the reason that I'm an ebook reader is that the next book is always waiting for me. And I have a lot of unread books. But the beauty of a regular book is that you hold it. You get to look at the design. And every book looks a little bit different. Every time you pick up your book, you get a sense of this is a production on the part of an author, an editor, a publisher. There are a whole lot of people engaged in creating this object that you hold in your hand that also then lets you enter a world that the same people created for you and others like you. So I think the beauty of a real book is its physical presence. It is a different physical experience of reading than reading on an e-reader or listening to an Audible book. But I don't take away from ebooks and Audible books if they get people listening to the stories that authors have created, listening to the nonfiction and learning history or any other kind of science, environment. However people consume their reading, I'm all for, so long as they're actually doing some reading, even if it's audible reading.
For those just joining us right now, we have a member of the Friends of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, Diane Henderson, here to talk about March, which is Reading Month, and to talk about all of the great resources that the Friends provide for the people of Greater West Bloomfield. One of those you mentioned earlier is Book Talks, which is your longest-running Friends program. What makes a program like that so successful?
I think that part of it is people love to talk about books. Those of us who are readers, book groups, book clubs, book discussions are one of the joys of life. But the other thing about Book Talks is that it's a very conscious effort to look at different kinds of books, novels, nonfiction, all historical fiction, suspense, thrillers, romance, whatever it might be, as a way to attract a good number of people, and not always the same people, people who prefer different kinds of genres. And so by being very thoughtful about the books we choose, we get a good group every month, and it keeps people coming back. And one of the other advantages of representing very different kinds of genres is that we also introduce our faithful group members to try new genres, to try new kinds of reading. And that's also an excellent thing to do. We have even done, I can't think of what they call them at the moment, but what I think of as a grown-up comic book. That they're not comic books, that's
graphic
not
novels.
fair. Yes, novels and other ways of exploring the reading experience. And I think it's that variety is one of the real benefits that the Friends Book Talks bring to readers.
Absolutely, and it's amazing to hear of this wide variety of types of books that you offer for the people at Book Talks. What can attendees expect from this year's discussions?
The opportunity to explore different genres, the opportunity to explore some that are bestsellers, that people have read and can't wait to have a conversation about. We had fabulous conversations on Percival Everett's James, the National Book Award winner. But they'll also get the opportunity to have a conversation on a book that they didn't know they even wanted to read. And they come because they wanted to. They follow Book Talks, they read what Book Talks offers, and it's like, oh, I never would have read this book. So there's lots of nonfiction, there's historical fiction, there's mysteries. And so people will get the opportunity to get a full gamut of different kinds of reading experiences, and to then sit in a room and have a conversation about their reading experience with other people who had an experience with the same book, but not necessarily the same book. I mean, same experience. If you're a historical fiction fan like I am, having a conversation about historical fiction is kind of normal. If you don't read a whole lot of non-historical nonfiction, then the conversation about that nonfiction book is a different experience for somebody who reads that kind of stuff all the time. So one of the real advantages is getting to talk about books with people who read maybe like you do, but maybe in very different ways than how you read. And that different perspective is one of the real values of book talks. I've belonged to other book groups, but those book groups tended to be a group of people, in most cases all women, who read the same kind of books. So we didn't explore other genres. We didn't explore other ways of seeing literature and nonfiction. So that book talks gives us that variety, and then therefore a variety of readers in the room to talk about the book.
Well, it's incredible that you're providing these discussions for everyone here in the Greater West Bloomfield community, discussions on a book that could very well become their brand new favorite. Diane, one more quick question before we let you go. Looking ahead, what are the Friends' goals for expanding their impact and continuing to support the library and the West Bloomfield community?
I believe the best way to describe our goals is that every time we get a new reader, every time we get someone who joins us in one of our activities, whatever that activity may be, that person is helping us support the library. And I absolutely believe, and have believed for my entire life, from the days that I walked for 20 minutes to get to the library, that libraries are the best resource for people who love reading. And so what the Friends do, anything and everything we do, is to support the West Bloomfield Township Public Library and to make those resources available to a large group of people to get them to be readers.
Well, we appreciate everything that you do for the West Bloomfield community. Diane, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Glad to be here. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
You too. Have a great day as well. And Reading Month is in full swing, and it's people like Diane and the Friends organization that help celebrate it properly. Can't wait to see what's to come throughout the rest of the month of March. And as Reading Month continues on, we are also celebrating local authors and the stories that they tell. One of those authors being Indea Canty, a local West Bloomfield children's author who is trying to showcase Black and world culture to inspire young readers. Indea joins us right now on The Splash to tell us more about her stories and her latest book. Indea, happy to have you. And Indea is joining us right now on The Splash Live right now. Indea, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm really good. Happy to have you with us. We learned a little bit about you at the recent Black Expo just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
What inspired you to write children's books? I want to get into that.
My inspiration was my daughter. I never had set out to be an author or to be a writer or anything, but through just raising my young daughter and finding out that she was delayed in speech, finding out that she needed extra attention when it came to reading, when it came to word recognition and developing language, put me on this path of being a writer.
Wow, it's always things like that that put you on a path that you never realized you were going to take in the first place. And
I never guessed I would have been an author, never desired it. And through reading the books that were recommended for speech development, and I realized there was no storylines that we could connect to and no characters that we could relate to either. And I said, why don't I just write my own books? And I did.
Well, you're already off to an incredible start. Your book, The Magical Shell, won a 2023 Book Fest award. Congratulations for that. Can you tell us about that story and what that recognition meant to you personally?
So I published my book December 2022. So it was mid-December, and by the time spring came along the next year, I said, why don't I just send it in and see if it'll win an award? I know my book is award worthy. And of course, social media somehow read my brain. I don't know how it does that, the algorithm, and it sent me the Book Fest awards. So I said, this is weird. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and I'll submit my book there. I submitted my book there, and I said, actually, let me submit my books to several places because I know I'm going to get an award. I just knew I was going to get an award on this book. I submitted it to 7 places, and 4 out of the 7 places recognized my book. The first one was the Book Fest Award, and they sent me an email saying, "Hey, your book won an award." And I was just like, wait a minute, I just sent it in. Is this a joke? I almost didn't believe it because it happened so easily. I'm like, does it happen this easily? And then I just got another email, indie authors, and another one, Book Excellence. And I'm like, this is like so bizarre that all these places are saying, hey, your book is being recognized. It won 2nd place, it won 3rd place, it won runner-up. And it was just like, okay, God, this is confirmation that this is exactly what you want me to be doing. I am on the right path, and nothing is going to stop me.
You certainly are on the right path. That is incredible, hearing about that path to get that award. And you're doing it with such incredible books, which are showcasing such diverse characters and cultures in literature. Why is it so important to be highlighting these different cultures and characters?
Well, I think it's a great idea. Not only, so there's not a lot of stories written about boys. And when it comes to African-American boys, melanated boys, that's even less books representing those boys. So I have a daughter, and I said, let me make my first book about a boy, The Magical Shell. A book that everybody can relate to. It doesn't matter if you are a girl, it doesn't matter if you are a boy, it doesn't matter what your race or nationality is. Everybody can relate to just being young, fun, and adventurous, wanting to be at the beach, wanting to be in the water, wanting to discover the ocean animals. So I created little Johnny in The Magical Shell, and I said, it doesn't matter who reads this book, they'll be able to identify with this person, his personality, his character, his imagination, and everybody's going to fall in love with him. And I thought that was really important to do, especially now, right, with everything that's going on right now.
Well, everyone is falling in love with little Johnny, and they are loving the book. For those just joining us right now, we have Indea Canty, a West Bloomfield author, joining us right now on the Splash Live for March Reading Month and Women's History Month. And Indea, you emphasize positive affirmations and well-being in your work. How do those themes shape the stories that you create?
I feel like it's important to allow children to discover who they are based on who God says they are. So building up their confidence and their faith at a young age before they enter into the world and before they start believing what other people say they are, or identifying with what other people think that they are or who they are. So I developed activity books and storylines that help children be able to just be more comfortable with self-discovery and affirming faith and affirming confidence. So I developed I See God. This has affirmations in it. It has prompts. It has journaling. And it will allow anybody at any age, whether you're a child, adult, teenager, to be able to start focusing on who they want to be in a more positive way and making it happen in reality.
I like that. You're reaching out to not just the children, but also that there's something in there for the adults. That's really, really important. And hearing about everything that you're doing and this path that you're on, I'd imagine that there are several female authors and figures who have helped to inspire your writing journey. Can you list some of those?
So I never set out to be an author or a writer. So I never had somebody that I looked to inspire the journey. But since I've been on the journey, Miss Rowland, the author of Harry Potter, has been a huge inspiration. I do wish to make The Magical Shell into a movie eventually. And I look at her story and think about where she started and how, just like that, she was able to have her books made into a movie. And I'm just like, wow, that is a huge inspiration for me.
That's certainly right. Her books came a very long way. And I'm glad that you just touched upon the future for books like The Magical Shell, how you want to maybe turn it into a movie one day. And I want to ask, beyond writing, do you have plans to expand into other outlets, like maybe audiobooks or other forms of visual storytelling?
Yes, I plan on coming out with YouTube, so a YouTube series for multiple books. I wrote 9 children's books. So right now the future of my business is to not only publish those books, but to turn Magical Shell into an audiobook and turn it into a series on YouTube, and to look to find out where can this be made into a movie. So A Magical Shell, I See God, and a couple of other books that I have in mind will be on YouTube. The Magical Shell will be a series, so there'll be a couple other books that are written about little Johnny. I See God is also going to be a series, and the books that I wrote about my daughter is going to be a series. So those are the 3 books that I want to turn into series on YouTube, audiobooks, and then as far as movies, specifically The Magical Shell.
Wow, it's incredible to hear about all of these great plans you have coming up. We are running short on time, and Dea, I have one more quick question before we wrap things up. For parents who are looking to encourage their kids to read a little more, what advice would you give to make books and storytelling a bigger part of their lives?
Buy the books, take them to the library, let them pick out whatever book they want to read, get them surrounded by books, and just make it a daily habit to read every day. It becomes more about the quality of time that's spent and what you guys are discussing more than reading, and that's kind of what helps develop the love of reading. It's the conversation within the books. It's the different storylines you get to talk about. It's the one-on-one time. So it's really about the whole experience rather than just the reading. So make sure when you do the reading, you create a nice experience around it as well.
That's right. Make it a very immersive experience for the kids. That's such great information and great advice. And Dea, thank you so much for joining us today here on The Splash Live.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And a story that just puts a smile on your face, and Dea has such a positive personality, and we really appreciate her taking the time to stop by the Splash Live to talk about her books and the future as we celebrate Reading Month for the month of March here in Greater West Bloomfield. And we have plenty of other great stories and topics to get into right after this quick commercial break. Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live. Bringing you stories and memories from Orchard Lake, Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. As we mentioned earlier in the show, the Tuskegee Airmen of the Macon-Thomas chapter right here in West Bloomfield received an approval for a proclamation and were celebrated by the West Bloomfield Township. And we have the president of that chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen joining us right now on The Splash to talk about his experience in being honored this way, Chuck Matthews. Chuck, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jake. It's a pleasure being here with you.
It's a pleasure to be talking with you. Really, really excited to be getting into this interview. I want to just start off for people who might not be aware. What can you tell us about the Macon-Thomas chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen?
Well, the Macon-Thomas chapter was formulated. At one time, there was only one chapter in Michigan for the Tuskegee Airmen, and that was in Detroit. And they currently meet at Coleman Young Airport. And many of our members in the suburban areas, it was somewhat of a challenge to go for meetings and activities and whatnot. And the brain trust of that initiative, Major William Burnett, formed the West Bloomfield chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen in 2012. And it's been thriving and serving the community from that day on until now.
That's absolutely right, and we thank you guys for everything that you're doing to support everyone here in West Bloomfield. Of course, the Tuskegee Airmen were the first African-American military aviators trained at Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama during World War II and served as pilots, navigators, and support staff, making significant contributions to the war effort and paving the way for desegregation in the U.S. Armed Forces. Chuck, did you have any contact or have you met any of these pilots that served during World War II?
Yes, I have met a few at the convention last year in Washington, D.C. We met Lieutenant Colonel Woodhouse, Lieutenant Colonel Ivan Ware, met Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart, and we have a pilot who, all those individuals have passed away, by the way, since the convention last year. And there's an airman alive in American House in Dearborn Heights. His name is Cleveland Williams. I'm going to go meet with him on Thursday of next week. So we are pretty much him only in the state of Michigan. And I believe there's only a couple of the original pilots still alive in this country.
Well, the names of these pilots live on, and the work that they've done to support our country lives on as well. What connects you to the history of the Tuskegee Airmen?
The accomplishments that resulted from the challenges, the trials, you can't do it, you're not built to do this, you don't have the leadership capabilities, so many of the negative things that were placed upon those pilots at that time, and it was made extremely difficult for them to achieve what they achieved. And all that did was just made them better, made them that much more efficient in flying, in combat, and avoiding danger, in shooting down enemy aircraft, all of those things. And that lesson is right here, right now with us today, is especially our youth. And we are mentoring and teaching our youth about drones and money management and so many other things. But never let anyone tell you what you cannot do, what you're not capable of doing, what you're not built to do. Do not believe any of that. You have greatness in you, and you just apply yourself and have that greatness be exhibited in your every aspect of one's life.
That's absolutely right. Such positive words to instill in the minds of everyone here in Greater West Bloomfield. And you just touched on this a little bit, but I do want to get into it a little bit more of the things that you do for the West Bloomfield community in supporting the community as well as the Tuskegee Airmen.
We participated with the Veterans Day activities at City Hall. Over there, we've done that in the past. There's the affair in August that's coming up. Can't remember the date. We talked about it at the meeting this past Monday. But that activity is taking place. We support that and have a table and have some giveaways and some information, and just here to support the community that has embraced our chapter, embraced us so warmly and so genuinely. And we just whatever and wherever we can serve, we are here to do that.
Well, Chuck, we appreciate everything you do for the Greater West Bloomfield community. One more quick question before we let you go. How does it feel to have gotten this honor by the people here in West Bloomfield at the recent meeting?
Oh, it's a tremendous honor. We had let them know that will be hosting our inaugural scholarship luncheon on March 22nd at Hope United Church on the service drive of the lodge. And we just asked, it would be such an honor for us to have March 22nd be Tuskegee Airmen Day in the city of West Bloomfield. And they were so gracious in giving us that honor and providing that proclamation to and for us. And we are truly, truly honored that the city council, township council would do that on our behalf. And we are grateful.
Well, we are grateful for everything that you do, Chuck, in supporting the Tuskegee Airmen. And we thank you so much for joining us today here on The Splash Live.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure interacting with the audience.
Of course, and it's great to be hearing these stories and for these stories to continue to be told, not just here in Greater West Bloomfield, but all across America. And we thank Chuck for his time in joining us here on The Splash Live. The Apple Manufacturing Academy in Detroit is aiming to support small and medium-sized businesses in adopting AI and smart manufacturing technologies. Apple is investing $500 billion that will directly affect Metro Detroit businesses. Here to provide his insight on everything is the owner of Ever Studios, Chad Ever, joining us right now on The Splash. Chad, great to see you.
Good to see you. How's everything going?
Everything's going great. Happy to be getting into this conversation. How do you see the Apple Manufacturing Academy impacting businesses in Greater West Bloomfield and the surrounding Detroit area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first of all, it's awesome for them to be investing in our local communities. For a large company like that, it's huge. It really says a mark about the businesses that we have here and the impact that we're making. I honestly believe that there's going to be three really important things that happen from this. The impact is going to have competitiveness. That's going to be enhanced pretty significantly because you're either going to move forward or you're going to stay stagnant, right? So competition is going to be, it's going to be really crisp. There's going to be a lot of competition happening. And we're really looking forward to businesses taking the plunge and jumping into it. Also, workforce development, we're going to see a pretty significant impact there. These training programs, it's going to create a really nice pool of skilled workers that haven't existed yet, right? But they're ready to. They just don't know what that next step is. And it's going to be a great opportunity there. And of course, we're going to see some pretty significant economic growth. As we adopt these advanced technologies, new businesses will then be attracted to the area. Therefore, we're going to have some really good economic growth as well.
That's right. We're going to be seeing a lot of big effects, probably a lot sooner than we realize here in the greater Detroit area as a result of this news. What role do you see AI and smart manufacturing play in modern business growth, and how can small businesses take advantage of some of these innovations?
Number one, operations are going to be streamlined. So right now, there's a lot of operational stuff from your everyday restaurant to your franchise that's based out of Metro Detroit. AI is going to help streamline a lot of those operations where you may have somebody that is really working overtime, maybe offset a lot of that work and focus on the growth of the business rather than getting stuck in the business. We're going to have the ability with AI to predict maintenance. So for manufacturing, the ability to know that maintenance needs to happen on some machinery ahead of time, AI is going to play a huge, huge role there. And you're also going to have customization. So right now, let's say you want to order a tumbler, right, and get it printed with your stuff. Right now, there might be minimum quantities with some of these manufacturers. Being able to customize the output, AI is going to play a significant role there. So maybe you can order 2 or 3 rather than having to order 24 at a time because these customizations and the ability to perhaps print multiple things but not take up as much resources of the raw materials and run them in batches, that's going to be a huge enhancement here.
Well, there's going to be a lot of things to definitely keep an eye on in the coming months. And with Apple focusing on workforce development through free training, how can business owners and entrepreneurs best prepare themselves for a shift like this?
Oh, wow. Great question. So we definitely want to make sure that we are engaging in continuous learning, right? You don't want to get stagnant. Otherwise, you fall behind. And we've seen this in the past, but it's happening at a faster rate, right? Think about back when Apple launched one of their first phones, how long it took for the technology to shift to their second phone and how many changes. Now we're getting updates and changes faster than ever. So for us as business owners, we need to definitely invest our time, energy, and resources into continually learning so that we can continue to grow and stay up the pace. We also want to make sure we're investing in technology, right? There used to be a time where you would order a pizza and they just went off of a map on a wall, right? And now we've got GPS and we've got turn-by-turn directions. And ironically, the delivery time has actually extended. but we could probably get back to that 30 minutes or less by adopting these technologies. And then, of course, there's collaboration with educational institutions, right? If we can partner with different academies and universities, that's really going to ensure that the workforce aligns with the needs of the industry faster. So faster time getting folks ramped up with the education that they need.
Chad Ever is joining us right now, owner of Ever Studios, talking about Apple investing $500 billion that is going to be affecting Metro Detroit businesses. We are running short on time, Chad. I do have one more quick question before we let you go. Looking ahead, how do you see digital marketing, SEO, and AI shaping the future of business development right here in Michigan?
It's already happening. I can tell you that. As a SEO company, we have had to invest our time, energy, and put time into education with these new technologies, specifically around AI and automation. And I can tell you what we've implemented in our business to help other businesses show up better online. We've taken our regular 40-hour work week and cut it more than in half by adding automation. So for us, we can streamline, get faster to production, but also turn around results much, much quicker than we've ever been able to do before. So for us, huge. And then for the everyday business, I say take a stab at it, jump into it, but SEO is a huge, huge bundle. And so if that's something they don't want to do, they can always jump in with a company that can provide that service for them. And then they can focus on what they love, focus on their passion, and then not have to get stuck in the technology pieces. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's not just for the business up front to invest that time. It's also for the businesses like me who provide services to them. They need to invest their time and energy, and the time is definitely right now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Lots of things to look forward to and to be on the lookout for in the coming months. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you for having me. Great to see you again.
Absolutely. Great to have you with us and great to be having these conversations. But that's going to do it for us today here on the Splash Live. Want to thank all of our guests for stopping by and thank Kevin McIntosh for his work getting that footage from the basketball game, Calvin Brown at Master Control, and for everyone on the Splash Live team here. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.